they try to get, sometimes people get psychologists and stuff, and like they can mess them up, right? You need to have that stuff in the basement to be able to perform, right?
Mm-hmm.
At a certain level, probably after you retire, you should kind of maybe figure it out, right? So you can like not keep those cycles or keep that cycle going, right? But I think overall, some of those things can be good, especially when you're younger, right? To prove stuff, to use that for good, use those things for good.
But I will tell you something. Something I noticed when I was boxing was most of the girls that I fought, if they had their like boyfriend or significant other in their corner, I always knew it was going to be an easy fight.
That's
honestly.
Good. That's good.
If they had their dad in their corner, you're like, oh, fuck, this is going to be a tough fight. So there's something to that. Something about having the dad, like groom their fighter, that was like pretty powerful in my experience. When I look back at the opponents I had, the toughest opponents I had their dad in their corner.
That's good. That's good.
So if we were going to like make a choice, I'd say, yeah, support your kids. That's, it's like the most powerful thing. Like I didn't have that. So who knows what I could have done, as a gymnast, because I had talent. The talent was there. It just wasn't supported.
Yeah, you needed the right coaching and the right people to guide you, right? You were talking about the visualization book, and I've been reading, or not reading, but hearing, or reels and Instagram is there's so much information, right? But there's like this big study that actual visualization hurts like 60%. It hurts like 60% of the people that were visualizing the outcome because it put pressure on them to win, right? To win whatever, to do whatever they're trying to do, right? Visualizing themselves on the podium or doing whatever, winning their sport, right? And I was like, it made me think, because I've always thought of visualizing. I visualize, I do those kinds of things, but I can see how it can, on the flip side, create pressure, right, as well. What do you think?
I think that if you're doing a visualization, you should focus more on the feeling instead of a specific picture. And if you do think of a specific picture, then you're only using that to create the feeling, the feeling of success and like the feeling of like the best possible outcome. I think you always got to go into it like, okay, this is exactly what it has to be. No.
So you flow, right? You flow. You're not like so focused on the outcome.
Right. So you used a good word. Like you can imagine yourself, like say it's for a fight. Okay. I think you should like focus on, because you never know. It doesn't matter how much you visualize. It's not going to happen exactly how you imagine it. Right. But you can like tap into that feeling of being in the flow. We know what that feels like. So it's more effective, I think, to sit there and to relax and close your eyes and just feel into that feeling of flow. And if you need to pull up a picture in your mind of what that feels like, maybe from a past fight or of you executing techniques that you want to execute in a fight, it will bring to you that feeling of flow.
Yeah, you feel whatever. If something feels good, and then you keep on that way, right? That path. I remember the ending of that post, and it was basically, you don't focus on the outcome, but you focus kind of similar, not the feeling, but like doing your best, right? Of doing your best in that whatever the situation is, the sport or whatever whatever you're doing. And then with focusing on that, because you can't control the outcome sometimes, you get a bad call or whatever, but doing your best within that. And then it reminded me of my youth, and basically that was my mantra pretty much. I would be like, I'm going to do my best, and if I do my best, I'm going to win. Like I really believed that. If I do my best, I'm going to win. And that felt good. Speaking of the feeling, right? And that's what felt right, because I couldn't control sometimes a bad call or whatever. Things happen that you can't plan, right? But I could control doing my best with my mindset, believing I'm going to win, with my techniques, whatever, doing my preparation, right? And if I did everything right, if I did my best, I can win. And and that's out of my control, but I did everything I could do, and that always felt good. and that's where I kind of stayed. That was my mantra. You know, if I do my best, I'm gonna win, and that felt good. But you find these different mantras, but it goes back to the feeling that feels good, even if it's a song, right? That I put on repeat, and you get that visualization, you get that frequency. I don't know if I do that. I don't know if you do that. Like some music sometimes kind of hits the spot, and I kind of whatever. If you're cutting weight or if you're doing whatever, something you're training, yeah, and it you feel in it, right? And it allows me to kind of push through, right? Being uncomfortable and hard times.
Absolutely, with everything, with music, and with everything that surrounds you, like even in your house and the people you're around, you want to stay in a high frequency as much as you can.
Yeah.
And there's I think another thing I think that people go wrong with visualization is they have this rigid picture in their head. And you know how back when we were saying you don't know what's good and what's bad?
Yeah.
Like you don't know necessarily. So if you force a picture, you can force the picture in your head, but if it doesn't feel right, it's not going to happen. You have to have the congruency between how you feel and the picture. And if you're forcing a picture and you're feeling an opposite emotion, then that's just going to create more stress.
Yeah.
It's like how many times have you wanted like a certain person, and then 10 years later you're like, oh my God, thank God that didn't happen. Yeah. Or just anything that you once wanted and you realize years later it's like, oh, that wasn't for me. So, and I don't believe so much in like trying to force what you want on the universe, because how do you know what's best for you,